how are you doing today? I hope you're having a wonderful day. Now, buying a home is one of the biggest financial decisions you'll ever make. And if you're in the buying process right now, you probably heard things like appraisal, inspection thrown around. But what do those even mean? Are they something that you need to have during your buying process, and do you need both of them? Today we're breaking down the key difference between appraisal and inspection so you know exactly what to expect. Trust me, understanding these two can save you a ton of time, money, and stress. An inspection is to determine the condition of a home. An inspector's job is to find issues with the home that could cost you money, cause problems down the road, or be very costly. So during that inspection, it's usually going to take a couple hours at least for them to go through the whole house. They're going to start with the roof and with the foundation and do everything in between, including structural, plumbing, electrical, heat and air, any safety issues, find any needed repairs or delayed maintenance. Now, their goal is to give you a clear picture of what you're getting into by buying this home. It can help you negotiate repairs that you want the seller to make, or it can help you back out of a deal if they find a serious issue that you're not okay with, or you can just be prepared for future maintenance down the road that you can handle and you don't feel like you need to ask the seller to take care of. It really helps uncover any hidden issues before you finalize a purchase. Lots of times people just go through it buying a home, they look at it the first time, and they don't see it again until closing. But there are lots of issues you can cover up by looking at a house a couple times, or ideally with an inspector to really get in the very nitty-gritty into the attic, into the crawl space, and everything in between. Now, an appraisal is more about determining the market value of the property. Think of it like a professional's opinion on how much the house actually is worth. It is supposed to be objective and unbiased. Now, keep in mind, an appraiser doesn't work for the buyer like an inspector does. The appraiser is kind of a separate party. He doesn't really work for the lender, he doesn't really work for the buyer. He is supposed to give that unbiased opinion of the property. He does obviously get paid a fee, but it is supposed to be unbiased. Now, the lender is going to require this appraisal to ensure that they're not loaning too much money to you, more than the home is actually worth. They're protecting their investment, not yours. And the licensed appraiser evaluates things like the home size, so square footage, if it's had a bunch of updates, any special features like garage or acreage. And it's going to take these information and go and find comparable homes. They're going to search the county tax database. They usually have access to our MLS. So they're going to see homes that are currently on the market that are similar to the home you're buying, as well as homes that have sold recently in the similar area. So they're going to be looking at market trends, whether it's going up or down or it's stable, and any other reasons that the property values are fluctuating. Now, they'll go out and do this appraisal, and then usually within the week they'll get a report back that determines the value that they think that it's worth, and they give that extra information to the lender because that's who orders it. And then they take that information and go back to their underwriters and determine if the home and they're willing to move forward with the loan. Now, if the home praises for less than you've offered, you do have options if you want to move forward, but don't freak out if that happens, but it is be prepared for that possibility. So now that we've talked about the difference between an inspection and an appraisal, why would you need both? Well, they're very different. As I said, you absolutely need both of them. You don't want to be skipping an inspection to save a few $100 that could cost you thousands in repairs later. And no, an appraisal doesn't check for the condition on the property. It's about that value. They are very different. Now, appraisal is going to be required by a lender, but inspection is completely up to you. It's for your own protection. There's actually a form that we have you sign if you're buying a home called For Your Protection, Get a Home Inspection. And this is for my protection, actually saying that, hey, I told you you should get an inspection and you decided not to. So that is on you to decide if you want to go ahead and get that inspection, because what if you bought a house only to find out later that the roof leaks, it caused damage to the walls and the flooring? It's a much bigger issue than just the roof. Or the wiring's outdated and it causes a fire. Or there's major cracks in the foundation that the whole house is shifting. That's where an inspection can save you from a nightmare. Now, an appraisal is only required if you are getting a loan. So if you are buying a house cash, you don't need to get an appraisal. You don't have to, but lots of people want to get one. Make sure that the offer that they're making on the home makes sense. If they're not familiar with the market, they may want to get an appraisal themselves as well. And that's why you want to keep in mind that in secondary market loans like FHA, VA, RDA, they do an additional part of the appraisal, like a health and quality standards. They make sure that the roof's not leaking, that the heat and air work, just very basic things. It's not an inspection. They usually do that in 5 minutes versus the 2 hours of an inspector going into your home. So that is why it's so important that you get both the inspection and the appraisal. Now, if you find this information helpful, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you can find more real estate information about the buying process. So who pays for this inspection and appraisal? Well, as the buyer, you're usually the person that's going to be paying for the inspection and the appraisal. Because as the buyer, you wanted to know that the home is in the condition you want it to, and the appraisal is also your responsibility because you're the one that's getting the loan and the lender that is requiring that it be done to give you the loan. Now, appraisal usually costs from $500 to $700, and that really depends if you are getting a conventional loan or if you're getting those secondary market loans that require a little bit more detail. Now, you're usually going to pay that up front. A lot of lenders, I've seen that they require that appraisal to be paid before they even order it. It will show up on your closing statement as paid outside of closing. Some lenders still may let you pay it at closing, but do be prepared to pay it up front. And with an inspection, it's going to be more like $300 to $500, depending on the size of the home and how far the inspector has to travel. Now, keep in mind, there are additional things that you can add on to an inspection that would obviously make it more costly. Like you can do a radon check, a mold check, lead-based paint check. There's all kinds of additional things that you can add on, which would raise the price. And now inspection is usually paid at or before the time of inspection. So that is not going to be paid at closing. The inspector is paid way ahead of that. So definitely be prepared for that one. Now, keep in mind, these are out-of-pocket expenses. That appraisal ensures your lender is making a smart investment, and the inspection is ensuring that you are making a smart investment. Now, can either one of these affect your purchase? Absolutely. An appraisal and inspection can both affect a deal in different ways. Now, if the inspection you come across issues that you're not happy with as a buyer, that you feel are not okay with you moving forward, you can either ask for the seller to make those repairs, or if they aren't willing to make those repairs and it's not something that you're comfortable with fixing, you can walk away. And sometimes there's just too serious of problems that you don't even want to deal with. Like even if the seller fixed it or even if you fixed it, you might be nervous about it the rest of the time that you own the home. And that inspection gives you the opportunity to walk away. That's why on almost every offer I write, I always check that box 10 days for inspection. If you never do it, that's on you. I gave you the opportunity in the deal to do so, but that's why I always say it's best to get an inspection. Now, if the appraisal comes in too low, that means your lender is not going to be willing to cover the full purchase price as you've written in the offer. You have a few opportunities here. You can either renegotiate with the seller and see if they'll come down on the price to the appraisal amount. If they won't do that, you can come up with the difference in cash if you're able to do so, or possibly you could get a second mortgage, but that would have to be okay with your first mortgage person. And then also you can ask for a new appraisal if you feel that they didn't evaluate it appropriately, or obviously then you can terminate the offer if none of those options are available to you. If it's really, probably more than likely, I haven't seen this happen too often, but there has been a few cases that it's happened and made deals fall through. So it's definitely a possibility, and it's usually when the market is shifting. Like we've been really high and then everything all of a sudden drops off, or we've been really low and then it jumps up, and the statistics from the sold statistics aren't catching up with what the appraisals see. So sometimes when the market's really changing, you can see that, but for the most part, we don't run into that too often because we're not getting people offering thousands and thousands of dollars over list price. That's really where you're going to see it show up. Now, what you can expect kind of gives you an idea on how to navigate these situations before they come roadblocks, so you're aware of your choices when they come up. So now we have the steps of going through the process of the real estate deal. We have the inspection and the appraisal. What happens after each of these steps? After the inspection, you're gonna have the day of inspection. Like I said, it's usually gonna be about 2 hours, maybe 3 hours for them to go through, depending on any of the extra that you added on. And then usually that same day or the next day, you'll get the report to review, and you can have your agent review that as well, or you can just review it yourself and then give your agent a list. You're gonna be able to talk to the inspector and see if you had any questions or you didn't understand anything that was in there. So then you can decide at that point, once you've looked over the inspection, if there isn't any major issues or any repairs that you feel need to be done, then you can accept the home as is, or you can ask for repairs to be paid by the seller. Or if you feel comfortable making the repairs, you can ask them to give you a credit at closing so that you have the money to make the materials and the time and effort that it does take to do those, if you don't want to ask the seller to do those. And usually I would recommend that this is done, because sellers usually, if they put their home on the market and they haven't made the repairs, they don't want to make the repairs. Plus, as a buyer, if you make those repairs, you know who did them, so if they don't get done right, you know who to call and come back to the situation. And more than likely, you're going to pick somebody that you trust to do those repairs, so you're going to be more satisfied with the results. And then of course you have the third option, that you can just walk away from the deal if the seller won't make repairs or they're too big a concern for you. Now, after the appraisal, your lender is going to take that appraisal report and send it to a different department in their company called the underwriting. The underwriter is going to look at the valuation of the home and the information that you send in, qualifying you for the loan, and say, okay, we've got all the information, we've got the buyer qualified, we've got a good value on the home, okay, we're ready to go ahead and close this loan. So pretty shortly after you get that appraisal back, you're going to be ready to close. If of course you don't get that appraisal back at a good value, you're going to have to go and renegotiate. And then usually, depending on the type of loan that you have, whether it's FHA, VA, RD, or conventional loan, there's so many days that you have to see the closing statement before closing. So that's really why it's very important to have an experienced real estate agent on your side throughout this process, so they can keep you up to date on all the timing on all of this and help you walk you through that inspection report, let you know what's going on with the appraisal and the underwriting, and get you to the closing table. So to recap, an appraisal protects the lender by assessing the market value of the home. An inspection protects you, the buyer, by revealing potential issues to the condition of the home. Now, they're both valuable tools, will give you peace of mind and help you make informed decisions throughout the home buying process. Don't skip that inspection, even if it's optional. It's one of the smartest investments you can make, and it's only a few $100s. If this video helped you understand that difference between an appraisal and inspection, make sure to watch this video I did last month about earnest money versus down payment to get you really going on the home ownership journey. Thanks for watching, and have a blessed day.